Hi, everyone. My name is Yusuke, and I am originally from Japan. I moved to the States when I was 19 years old for my higher education. I am now a psychology professor and study human perception, cognition, and attention. I specialize in human factors, which is the study of how humans interact with technology. Today, I will share with you my stuttering journey, how Labette method has improved my speech tremendously, and my recent thought on how to convert anxiety to excitement from a psychological perspective. So I have been a mild stutterer since I was an elementary student, and I repeated and blocked words, especially when I was asked to recite in a classroom where I remember some of my friends humiliated me and some of my teachers called on someone else to read it for me with some explicit disappointment. I was, however, fortunate to have my friends who understood and apparently accepted how I spoke. But my symptoms were apparent enough that I started avoiding speaking in public and social environments. When I had to speak, I remember I was under high pressure and worried how I was going to be viewed by my audience. I moved to the States for my undergraduate education, and I had many bad incidents, especially when I did my presentations for my classes under some time pressure. I was an okay B student who wasn't sure what to do in my future, especially with my stuttering. I still remember how desperate I was, and I wondered what was wrong with me and my brain. I was lucky to be accepted into a graduate program, and my advisors trained me for a professional presentation skills. However, I always had, say, 20% of each day worrying about my speech and how to dodge my stuttering. My worry grew and grew, especially after experiencing several bad incidents throughout my school and after joining faculty as a professor. Teaching with stuttering is not easy. I may stumble on words, especially when I'm not so familiar with the topic. I took it as an opportunity to study even more about the topic, but that has helped so much that I needed some help to eliminate my stuttering. What apparently hit me so hard was actually COVID. Right after the pandemic started, everything was locked down, and many of us started working from home using Zoom like this. And that is when I started blocking more often than ever before. With the lack of social cues and unfamiliar phone-like environment, it has interfered with my work and social life quite a bit, to a level that I needed some treatment. I have not had any speech therapy, and I had no idea how to reduce my stuttering. I Googled one day and found Lee's book accidentally. The title of the book was, of course, How to Stop Stuttering and Love Speaking. How awesome it was. That was exactly what I wanted to get an answer for. I ordered that book right away, and I started reading it and discussed it with my wife, who still does not believe I stutter. However, after reading the whole book, I thought I had understood it probably only less than 10% to a level that I could use with my speech or apply to my speech. So I decided to contact Lee, and surprisingly, I got an email back from my Dr. Lee Lovett. He has coached me since then, and my speech and how I view my speech and myself changed positively. He opened the door to the whole new world of fluency. One of the methods I believe critical and important is daily auto-suggestion treatment. This is, of course, written in his book, but it was only through coaching session that made me realize the importance of this process. So in some meeting, I was fascinated by what Pratyusha shared, that she has converted anxiety into excitement or enthusiasm. My physiology is telling me that I am anxious now. And how is it possible to change my emotion to counter my physiological response? So in fact, how emotion arises and how we subjectively experience emotion were a hot topic in early 1900. Back then, psychology was just an offshoot of philosophy, and philosophical psychologists were mainly dealing with these questions. Back then, emotion was considered as a cause of physiological response. So for example, imagine you are walking in the woods and you see a bear. Traditionally, it was understood that because you are afraid, you are trembling. However, the famous James Lang theory actually states the opposite, that our physiological response leads to the experience of emotion. In the same example, you become afraid because you are trembling. I find this theory especially fascinating and offering a plausible explanation of how Pratyusha's affirmation works. So our physiological reflex is faster than many of our perceptual or cognitive processes. So it is natural to think that our physiology automatically responds to a certain situation, like being in front of people like this. Many people cognitively interpret their body response as being nervous. But according to the James Lang theory, our emotional experience is actually a product of physiological reaction. So building a habit of reinterpreting the situation and physiological response may help us emotionally excited to speak. So because of this reason, I have added and copied the following affirmation to my list. I will turn my anxiety into excitement when I speak. Let's see how it works for me. To close, I am grateful to Coach Lee for giving me the whole opportunity to tackle and soon end my battle with stuttering and speech anxiety, and more importantly, emphasize the importance of discipline and conviction in changing my thoughts and behaviors positively. I'm also lucky to have you all who attend some meetings and support this community of ex-stutterers. Thank you so much, everyone.